Why, I'm the Forbidden Thinker. Now, today, it's not a MGTOW video or any of the usual content that I've been making currently. This is more of a special case right here where I feel like I need to at least talk about a certain particular subject that really needs to be addressing, basically. Now, if you really don't know, I'm not that type of person that likes to trust other people that much, too much at least, if you know what I mean. I just don't trust that many people, with a few exceptions. There are a few people online that I do trust a lot, but for most YouTubers, I just don't trust them, and the big reason is because, in my personal experience, I've always been that kind of person that's always had that bad luck with people who, one way or the other, if I trust them too much, they end up either backstabbing me or they go batshit insane. But I'd like to share with you a story about how I learned that there's just some friendships on the internet that you have to break, and hopefully this will help you too if you're in the same situation. Now, it starts off with this. Now, I'm not going to name these people by their actual YouTube names, because if I do, then they're going to go crazy again, like as they always do. So, I'm going to call them Bob and Alice, even though that's not their real name or genders or whatever the case is. I'm just saying it because it needs to be said anyways. Now, a long time ago, there was this person named Bob who I interacted with him about a year and a half ago, probably 2 years, and he seemed to be a pretty nice guy. He used to make pretty good, nice content against the feminism sort of stuff, and he also talked generally about atheism quite a bit, but he mostly focused on the feminism sort of stuff. And he was a really outstanding guy. I remember him when he made videos on how he was like, oh, I'm responding to this Muslim. Wait, this isn't right. Here we go. And then he adds a big bomb fest to his avatar and just does it in a sarcastic way. And he really did have the comedic sort of gift of being a comedian. However, the problem was that over time, even though he was pretty nice, he just fell into the wrong type of people. He fell in with the type of people who didn't exactly care about that much about privacy, and they expected everybody to be 100% open all the time. Eventually, he and I actually stopped meeting each other because, well, largely because he was hanging out with a group of people that thought it was unpopular for him to meet up with the smaller people, and eventually the whole thing was splitting up slowly and maturely. That's why he started hanging out with Alice, the other group. Then from that point on, his mood started to switch and change into a very more radical form of who he was. Then at a certain point, he became too radical for me to even recognize. That was when I stopped communicating with him. Then what I learned is that he goes through a mental breakdown on Twitter, and he completely deletes his entire YouTube page and Twitter for a while. And lo and behold, he's back on the internet. And after a while, this individual actually started tweeting out to me, or not tweeting out to me, but privately DMing me about a few certain things, and he expects me to be just as crazy as him, and it got to the point where I had to break the friendship because ultimately I'm not that type of person that really likes being told what they can and cannot do, and that was sort of the relationship that it sort of turned into. He didn't like the idea that I haven't gone crazy like him. I'm not a person that really thinks that of X. And not only that, he didn't like the idea that I was moving in a different direction, away from debunking the feminism sort of stuff, and he took issue with that. He also took issue with the fact that I was hanging out with the wrong people, as he claimed, and then at that point he started trying to guilt trip me into thinking that it was somehow my fault that he lost over 1,000 subs, even though that wasn't me, that was on him. And not to mention, he tried to blame me for a few other things. And at the end of the story, I just simply had to just break that friendship up, because he started out from a really genuinely good person, a really good YouTuber that made great content. Arguably, I would say that there were times when I would say to him, yo, we gotta take a break from YouTube because you're staying up till 5 o'clock in the morning just to finish stuff up. That's the time when you need to sleep. But he started out from being a good YouTuber, from that to being so extremely radical and extremely hostile to the idea of people not talking about feminism all the time anymore. And I hope this story helps for people who are struggling with the same sort of situation. And I went through this a while ago, and I feel like it's necessary to share my story because there are a few cases where I've noticed the same things happening with their cases. Mind you, my story is slightly different in the context, and thankfully this person wasn't my mentor or anything, so he's not that. He wasn't ever a major importance to my YouTube life, I would say. But I feel it's relative enough or important enough to put down on Veo, because I know that there are a lot of people that go through these sort of situations where, oh, I like this person up to the point before they go crazy. And I have a personal theory on why some of these people go crazy, and they turn into anti-skeptics and just crazies. And I really think it's because there's lacking of enemies, and there's a mindset where if you don't have an enemy to fight, that literally can drive some people crazy enough to the point where they'll start seeking new enemies to fight, new people to poke with the fun stick, if you know what I mean. And to those people can and will sometimes, or I wouldn't say sometimes, but they can drive them crazy to make accusations towards others that are baseless, and also drive them to make accusations that are life-ruining. And that's how we get some crazies like feminism, or debunking SJWs and feminism is slowly less becoming popular, to the point where it'll drive that certain personality to doing crazy shit, and it'll lead to people like my old ex-friend, I would say, from starting from a pretty good decent guy to becoming a crazy nut man that I had to end the friendship, and I refused to talk to the guy anymore. And ultimately, I'm done with this guy, and if he ever does pop up in the whatever Veo response or comments, I'm not going to engage him because he's not worth my time at this point. And I certainly do hope this story helps, because the thing is, there are also an element of other people that don't want to give up that sort of friendships online. And to those people, I have to say, I would have to say it's better to let go. Basically, you have to learn to let go, because if you don't, it's going to be more painful later on when they start saying or doing things that you don't agree with. And it'll get so painful to the point where it'll become torture for you to try and stay friends with them when they radically are opposed to you at every point, and they'll constantly shit talk you to the point where it just makes you feel like other dirt. And the recovery process isn't easy either. But in light of all of this, I like to think of those people like from this little icon picture. Like, there is a bit of control. Like, I do remember the good times I had with the person, regardless if I had bad experience with him. But I really do believe in this quote. This quote really does tell the story of I wouldn't say a story, but it sort of explains what my moral stance is that with those sort of people, it's better to remember the good times than the bad. And if you can do that, then it'll make just transitioning from, oh, you're my friend, I don't want to criticize you, to letting go. And you have to let go if the friendship is just downright boiling down. But I hope this all helps you out. Forbidden Thinker signing out, and have a lovely day. And also, please consider if the person is actually treating you like shit, then that is a time you should drop the friendship right then and there before it gets out of hand.